I'm Mark Caro, and welcome to episode 46 of Caropop. Our guest this week brought the beat to We Got the Beat, Go-Go's drummer, Gina Schock. She's got amazing energy, whether she's making or talking about music. It's no wonder she elevated the Go-Go's to a new level when she joined the band. She grew up in Baltimore and as an 11-year-old attended her first concert, an astounding double bill of Led Zeppelin opening for The Who. It wasn't until years later that she learned that this was the only time those two bands shared a bill. But even if she wasn't aware of the concert's soon-to-be legendary status, she knew she was witnessing something life-changing. John Bonham, Keith Moon, two thunderous bands with The Who destroying their instruments at the end. Schock never took lessons as a drummer. She just played along with her favorite songs. It was all about the music, and she practiced a lot. In Baltimore, Edith Massey, the egg lady in John Waters' cult movie Pink Flamingos, invited her to play drums in a new band, Edie and the Eggs. That project got Schock to New York and other cities, and she knew she wanted more. She moved to Los Angeles, hung out with clubs, saw her share of punk bands, and eventually joined one, the Go-Go's. What was her first impression of them? How did her fierce work ethic mix with the band's approach at the time? When Kathy Valentine joined as bassist, the final puzzle piece was in place, and the band, with its souped-up rhythm section, took off. The Go-Go's weren't happy with the mixes that veteran producer Richard Gotterer assembled for the 1981 debut, Beauty and the Beat, but they couldn't dispute the results, one of the most successful debut albums of all time, hitting #1 and featuring two smash singles, Our Lips Are Sealed and We Got the Beat. There were other standouts as well, including How Much More and This Town. Did the label do all it could with that album? Schock has some opinions. She also offers her perspective on playing with a click track. The Go-Go's rushed to record and release the follow-up, Vacation, also with Gotterer. For 1984's talk show, they traveled to England to work with producer Martin Rushent, whom Schock admired especially for his production of the Human League's album, Dare. She loved the sound that he captured on Talk Show, and the singles Head Over Heels and Turn to You burst from the speakers with a muscular drum sound. But Schock was less happy with the recording experience. As she tells it, some band members, for a variety of reasons, weren't as ready as she was to show up and get to work. That would be the Go-Go's last album before the band broke up, regrouped, and repeated that cycle a few times. Money was a frequent source of tension within the band, in part due to the disparity of income among those who were and were not credited as songwriters. Schock calls out the unfairness of both the system and some common assumptions about what constitutes songwriting. Schock and Valentine wound up suing the band over financial issues at separate points. Yet all five Go-Go's got back together, played more shows, recorded the 2020 song Club Zero, and were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame last year. The band was supposed to tour Europe with Billy Idol this summer before Idol had to postpone the shows, and the Go-Go's couldn't join the rescheduled dates. Will the Go-Go's tour again? Record again? Schock is game, but notes some obstacles. Meanwhile, you can enjoy Schock's words and photos in her irresistible coffee table book, Made in Hollywood, All Access with the Go-Go's. The photos boast a you're-in-the-room intimacy, as her bandmates clearly trusted her as they let their guards down. Schock shares vivid memories, and the book also includes accounts from friends such as Jodie Foster, who offers a perfect summary of the Go-Go's approach to life. In her foreword to the book, Kathy Valentine says, "The drummer rules the band." Does Schock agree? What do you think? Enjoy this hard-rocking Caropop conversation with Gina Schock. Well, this is exciting. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Mark. Thank you.
So do you agree with Kathy Valentine that the drummer controls the band?
Well, I don't know. I certainly start and end each song. So, and everything in between. And I guess you kind of need to follow the beat. So it's the drummer's very, very important. That's for sure. But you got to have great songs to back all that up. And I'm a drummer that does what they need to always make the song better. I'm about the songs, you know. I've been in a great band with great songs, and I get
Absolutely.
to do some cool stuff with my drums, and it's been all wonderful. I've got no complaints, except I could complain for hours, but what good is that? And it's all been good, Mark. No kidding. But yeah, Kathy, yeah, that's super sweet of her. And she's a great bass player. She's a great guitar player. I've been lucky to work with people that I like for the most part. We all fight and, this and that because it's family, but
right.
It's family.
Well, it seems like the Go-Go's, I mean, they had this sort of foundation of, like some of the songs and some of what was there, sort of the pieces, but it seems like the puzzle became complete when they got a rhythm section, and not that they didn't have a rhythm section, but when Kathy joined and you joined, it seemed like that's what it's like, this illustration of like the importance of a great rhythm section, because that pushed you guys into another league.
It's the as you have my book, which thanks. I hope you enjoy the book. I'm
it's great.
Proud of it. I love it. My whole thing is whatever I can do, playing drums in a band to elevate everything in all the right ways is what I want to do. You're right. I think that the rhythm section, and in our case, and we're strong. We're like really good musicians. We had been playing a lot longer than any other girls in the band. When I first came out to LA, from Baltimore, I had been playing in a lot of bands in Baltimore. So I definitely had, several years on everyone else as far as, my instrument goes. And when I met the girls, I saw them play before I joined the band, and I thought they were just great, but they were pretty sloppy. And, I think that they needed somebody to push them. And when I got in the band, I think I did exactly that, because I felt like there was something there that just needed to be worked on. They needed to put their time in to make them the best at what they do. And so I feel like I definitely was a part of helping everybody in the band achieve what they were trying to achieve. And that was, become better songwriters and become better at their instrument. And like I say, I had several years on everybody. And then Kathy joined, and she'd been playing in bands in Austin. So, when we started playing together, it was a tight rhythm section. And, we all added our bits to the band to make it, what it eventually became. And that was number one records, and, highly successful. And, it's been pretty great.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I have this impression of you, partly from your book and partly from just what I've seen, heard, that you're very disciplined, and that you practice, and that you're just like sort of not just kind of going up there and having a good time, that you're really making sure you have this certain work ethic. And I'm wondering if that's something you also brought to the band. And Absolutely. If you had to sort of be the enforcer sometimes. Yeah,
they all, would bitch and complain about me because I was practice. And still to this day, I'm always about, if we have, 2 weeks of rehearsal, I'm the one that wants 3 weeks of rehearsal. I just feel like I like to rehearse until you feel absolutely comfortable walking on that stage, knowing everything that you have to do is just going to pour out of you without thought, So yes, I firmly believe that practice makes perfect. And it certainly worked for me. I mean, my whole approach to playing any instrument was, pick that instrument up, start playing it, and spend your time working with it. And like guitar, bass, drums, whatever it may be that you're drawn to, I feel like if you put the time into it, it's going to pay off. It certainly did for me. And I would come home from school every day and play with my favorite records. That was the way I got around having to take lessons. I would because when you're playing with a song you love, you know how it is. You play it a million times. Just listening to something that you're crazy about at the time, you'll play it over and over. So I just had headphones on, and I played along with all the songs that I was crazy about. And that's how I really learned how to play drums. I've never taken any lessons, and I'm not putting that down. I think that taking lessons and learning to read music and all can only add to the picture. So I'm not against that. And I wish I had done that, because it would just have broadened my whole thing. I'd be even better probably. But you gotta have it. You gotta have whatever that is, that God-given gift. You can't be taught how to play if you don't have it in you, I feel.
Right.
Or it'll be very hollow. You won't play with soul. You won't understand it. You won't feel it. It's soulful. It's about feeling it in your being and letting it take you wherever it's going to take you.
I would imagine that the practicing would have to do with kind of getting the timing right and making sure you're not like speeding up at one point and slowing down.
No,
but I would think that even more important would be just sort of getting a feel, like having the song in your bones and that you're feeling it and getting into the groove, because the great drummers are the ones, in my mind, where you don't understand why they're great they just like, there's something about the way they play makes you want to move in a way that other people don't?
Yeah. It's like everybody's got a gift, Mark. And I know what my gift is. And so, like I said, it's something that, like, when I sit down at the kit, my body I just follow the movements that my body makes to, and as far as timing and all that goes, playing with a click track is, I think, a really important thing. Although I didn't learn with a click track, but I'll tell you what, every recording I've ever done is with a click track. It's important.
I was wondering about that.
And I think my gift as far as drumming goes is that I had this internal clock that is really pretty spot on. And so I've been lucky in that way, because I feel like the whole point of being a good drummer is you better have good fucking timing. You better be able to keep the beat straight, and you got to, everybody's going to be, honestly, they're going to be following what you're doing. So, if you screw up, you're going to mess the whole thing up. So
when you have a hit called "We Got the Beat," you have to got the beat.
Right. That was when Charlotte brought that idea in for "We Got the Beat." The drums that came out pretty quickly. It was, I thought I just let my brain and my body do what it does when I hear something. And that beat should have been, it was all about, I believe in simplicity when you're trying to write whatever it is, your part for the song. As I said, it's not a bad, for me, like, I certainly have a great appreciation for drummers like, Keith Moon, who did a million fills. And I mean, there's so many great drummers. We could sit here all day and talk about that. But, there's Charlie Watts. And so, and I love both. And you do whatever the song requires. Right. I feel whatever it requires, you need to figure that out and do that. It's about the song. It's about elevating the song always, always, always.
Absolutely. I thought it was crazy that you wrote about how you actually saw Led Zeppelin open for The Who. So you saw a double bill of John Bonham and Keith Moon.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? This is so crazy, Mark, but I found out I was doing an interview the other day, and then I realized that concert only happened once. They only played together one time.
I didn't know they did it at all.
Oh my God.
I know that Keith Moon gave them the name, but I didn't realize they actually had a double bill like that.
My brother happened to take me to that concert at 11 years of age. And, it's nuts that was the one and only time that happened with those two bands on the same bill. And I got to see that. I mean, whoa. For some reason, I thought that they were doing a tour together. But then it was brought to my attention like last week. No, they only did that one show together.
Wow.
And that was at Meriwether Post Pavilion in 1969. And I was lucky enough to be there.
Now, did you have any inkling as an 11-year-old seeing, the show that people would pay you $1 million to go through a time machine to go see now? Did you have any inclination that A, you were going to be a drummer, or B, that this would maybe be inspiring you to do that once it was done?
It was, Mark, it was completely inspiring. I was absolutely blown away. And I remember, and this is, I feel like I had an epiphany at that time, because it felt like from that point on and I've said this many times, but it's true. I knew I wanted to be up on that stage. I didn't care what instrument I was playing, but I just thought, oh my God, look at how this audience, look at how these people react to what they're doing, to what music does to people. I mean, you can't help yourself. It just moves you. And I was seeing something that was more iconic than I realized at the time. But for a first concert, what? It doesn't get any better than that.
That is crazy.
Really does not get any better than that. And what I do remember from that is, of course, Led Zeppelin opening up and for The Who, and they were incredible. They sounded just like the record. They were just incredible. The Who came out and did, the act that they do. They busted everything up at the end. And for an 11-year-old, that was mind-blowing. I'd never been to a concert. And then this was it. It's the first concert I go to. So it was something to see.
So was everything just a letdown after that? You're like, wait a minute, that's not like The Who and Led Zeppelin.
Well, there's never been anything quite like it in my whole life ever. So it was.
I mean, someone would be like, hey, let's go see Seals and Crofts. And you'd be like, no, that's not.
I did see Seals and Crofts. By the way. Whoever played at the Baltimore Civic Center, I was there.
That's funny.
Whoever played, because I would take the bus up there from my neighborhood. I could take a bus and it would drop you off in front of the Civic Center. So me and like my friend Bruce or Terry or Rosie, whatever, my friends from school or my friends from the neighborhood, we'd hop on a bus and get up there and see whoever it was playing, because that's all. After that first show, I was hooked. Every penny that I got went to buying concert tickets, magazines, T-shirts, albums, British imports. I would go to the record store and buy all the British imports. I would spend every dime I had on music from that point on. Done deal.
Yeah.
I was hooked.
In the sort of battle of the drummers and battle of the bands, who did you come away more impressed by? Bonham and Led Zeppelin, or Moon and the Who?
Well, they're quite different.
Well, I know, but you're 11. Which one did you come out going, oh my God?
Well, of course, the grand finale for the Who, was pretty incredible. So that really knocked me out. Yeah. I mean, to see something, everybody busting their instruments up, and that was wild.
And they were the more legendary band at that point, obviously.
Oh my God. Yeah. The Zeppelin was that was their first time being in the States. They'd just come over here. And so this was new for them. Of course, the Who had been around a while. But it's funny because when I'm thinking of the Who, thinking of all those songs that Pete Townsend wrote, they're all really pretty simple. But it's how you arrange it and put it together that is the special sauce,
Right. Yeah. And you've talked about how John Bonham and Charlie Watts were sort of, the drummers that you idolized.
And what I loved about Charlie was how simple his playing was, but oh my God, it got you,
it's
right
the feel thing.
Yeah. And then John Bonham, his footwork was incredible, and all the tom-tom fills, the triplets and all that. Whoa. Now,
did you learn bass first?
Bass, yeah. I started fooling around with a bass. I still have bass. I still fool around with it. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing on guitar. I don't know what I'm doing on piano, but I know how to write with it. I can use it as something to begin to write a song with. And I still don't know what I'm doing, but I can write songs.
Did learning bass or any other instruments sort of inform the way you approached drums when you started that? And how old were you when you got your first drum kit, or just started drumming?
I was 13, but I was 11 when I started, picking up instruments and trying to figure out where I would land as far as what instrument I would wind up playing. And, I tried bass for a while. And like I said, I was 11 or 12, 13. I didn't have patience for lessons, to take lessons. But with drums, the minute I started playing, I knew I'd never have to take a lesson. But I would always learn everything by ear. Like, that's how I can learn to play a song or on piano is I have a good ear. I can pick out notes and figure out how to play stuff, even though I don't know what I'm doing.
So would you put on, like your favorite records and play along with them? And what were the records that you liked? So what were the ones what were your go-tos to improve your drumming chops? What would you put on?
Oh my God, whatever I was listening to at the moment. It could be from Zeppelin to the Stones to Leonard Skinner to Christ, you name it. Whoever was happening at the time, I was listening to it. Right now it's escaping me, of course.
I think you mentioned Black Sabbath in there somewhere.
Oh my God, I love Black, because that was the second concert I ever went to was Black Sabbath. And I loved them. Oh my God, I love that band. And Bill Ward, he's like a jazz drummer, man. Bill Ward was like a jazz drummer. It's amazing. You listen to that first record.
Right.
They're like jazz fills and shit. He's playing like a jazz drummer. That guy's an incredible, very underrated drummer, I feel. So I was playing the Black Sabbath because I loved, it was, it wasn't really it wasn't about, oh, this fellow is like this great drummer. It was always drawn to the music. And then that opened up the entire book for me. And then I would learn parts, but I had to be pulled in by the songs.
Were there certain bands that you just, or albums that you just totally obsessed about when you were like a teenager?
I remember, there were so many bands. I remember I loved the James Gang. Do you remember them, James Gang? Well,
I do. Joe Walsh, before he was the Eagle.
Yeah, I remember seeing them in Funk 59, 69 or whatever the fuck it was, whatever that song was, Funk 57, whatever. I had that James Gang record, but I was completely enthralled and moved by David Bowie, of course. The Ziggy Stardust record changed my life. I'd never seen or heard anything like that. And this guy was like from another planet. What a genius. So anyway, I was listening to Bowie. I was listening to, I'm going to just look at my record collection here. Oh my God. I was playing to Blondie. I was playing to whoever else was out. Bad Company, Stones. And I loved Jethro Tull. I loved Motown. I was really also, and I loved James Brown. I just loved everything.
And you're listening to Blondie, originally produced by Richard Gotterer, who then produced Beauty and the Beat. So you got a little.
What's killing me is Mark. I'm thinking I was in Baltimore, and I remember sitting in the living room upstairs. I had my stereo set up in my bedroom, and I had the door open, my bedroom into the living room, because my mom and dad were usually downstairs making dinner, hanging out, whatever, watching TV. So I was kind of upstairs blasting music, and I remember singing all the songs to the Plastic Letters album, which is fucking brilliant. Even to this, their stuff is just brilliant all over. But I remember upstairs pretending that I had a mic and singing to that album, Parallel Lines. Oh my God.
Also another band with a really good drummer too, Clem Burke.
Oh, Clem. And of course, who would have known that all these years later, I would be friends with Clem. I would get to know everybody in the band. I mean,
right.
All these dreams, they all just sort of came true. But I was completely focused on music. It's all I cared about. And every waking hour was spent absorbing new records, new sounds. I was like a sponge, absorbing as much as I possibly could, And I loved the Hermits and Dave Clark 5. It was all I could do to stay focused on, just doing my going to school, because I hated it. School interfered with my music. I was always drawn to British music. So I was always buying British imports. I didn't even know who the hell I was buying, who the people were, but I was buying it. I mean, I even bought Bill Wyman's solo record. Come on. Yeah.
Well, I know that you guys toured early on with Madness, with and I think you mentioned that you were dating Mark Bedford, the bassist. And,
yeah.
And you're growing up in Baltimore.
Yes.
And one of the sort of patron saints of Baltimore is John Waters.
Yes.
And one of the landmark movies is Pink Flamingos. And then you end up in a band with it's one of the more indelible movies anyone will ever see. But you were the drummer for Edith Massey, who was the egg lady in Pink Flamingos, and you were in Edie and the Eggs. So how did that happen?
Well, I moved out of my house when I was like 20. I moved into Fells Point on the waterfront downtown.
Right, I was going to say right by the water. I've had crab cakes at Fells Point.
So Edie had her shop there, Edith's shopping bag. So I lived right up the street on Broadway, and I'd go in and visit Edie all the time. She'd be sitting at the front of her store, sitting at the cash register, and she had this woman named Jeannie who waited on her hand and foot, and then she had her cat Lovey, who sat right next to the cash register. People would come in there. I don't think people bought much stuff in her thrift store. They just wanted to see Edie. She was such a character. And what a sweetheart she was. Oh, my God. John gave her something to do in her later years of her life that she loved. She loved the adoration. She loved the fans coming in and asking for autographs and taking photos. I mean, what a sweetheart of a woman she was. And anyway, one day I walked in. Hi, how you doing? She's like, oh, Gina, I want to put together a punk band, and we're going to go to New York and Los Angeles and San Francisco. And I was like, you're kidding, Edie. She's like, you want to be in the band? I was like, yes, of course. Put this band together. Not really about doing anything that great musically, but it was just, for me, I think it was like, oh my God, I'm going to get to go to LA, go to San Francisco. I've been in New York plenty because, growing up, we're in Baltimore. So my parents, we go up to New York a lot. So anyway, I was so excited to be a part of that. And we went to New York and played at Max's Kansas City and CBGB's, and came out to LA and did 3 shows at the Newark Theater, and then came up to San Francisco and played at the Warfield. And what an incredible experience for me. Once again, all these firsts that were like fucking monumental. And at the time, I didn't realize how important it would all be in the scope of things. What an exciting, wow, can't believe it all happened to me, but that all made sense in my music education. So I got back to Baltimore, and the first thing I thought is, okay, how am I going to save enough money to get, either to New York, LA, or San Francisco? I was going to wind up in one of those 3 places. So I did save some money, went up to New York for a little bit. And I thought even though it was close to Baltimore and close to my family, it was too harsh up there, man. And it was really expensive. And then I saved up some money, came out to California, spent a little time in LA, spent a little time in San Francisco, and decided LA was the place that I wanted to be. So I went home, packed up everything in my dad's pickup truck, and a friend of mine from high school, Babs, and we drove across country seeking fame and fortune in LA.
And finding it.
Uh-huh.
Because that doesn't happen for everyone. But and becoming and honestly becoming, the missing piece in a band that needed you to get to the next level. I
say this, but I do believe in destiny. I think it was all supposed to happen. And who knows what drives you to do what you do and where you end up and all. But I just think if you stay focused and you try to do the right thing, you're going to wind up in a good place, hopefully. I think 9 out of 10 times that does work. And I tell you, Mark, I was so focused. It was all I dreamed about. All I thought about was, I'm going to make it in the music business. It's what I love. It's all I care about. My heart and soul is in this. And when I came to LA, I came on a mission. And, got out here the minute I did. I was staying with my friend Steve. And he started taking me around, seeing different bands. I saw the Go-Go's and I liked them. But they were kind of a mess. But it all worked out.
So what was your first impression of the Go-Go's?
They're having a lot of fun. They are having so much fun. They don't give a shit if they make mistakes. They only know 2 songs. They play one of those songs over again when they come back to do an encore. So what? The scene was so cool, so inclusive. Nobody cared if you could play that well. People were just getting together and having a great time and creating some good music occasionally here and there. And I felt for the Go-Go's, what they gave me, which was something that I needed badly, was the fun aspect of it, because I was just too serious. And they needed some discipline, as far as their instruments go. I wanted to push them to work more on their songwriting, work more on, learning their instrument better. And so it all really worked out. We got from each other what was needed to go to the next step. And it just sort of progressed in a way that you would hope it would. It couldn't have, you couldn't pay for it to work that way. It just did. It was very organic, and we were doing it.
Now, at that point, obviously an all-female band, there weren't a lot of them. And also just women in rock in general, like playing instruments as opposed to being, the singer, that was even considered, like sort of a rarity. But I think a woman drumming, there really weren't a lot of female drummers at that point. Did you feel like you were kind of climbing an uphill, going uphill because there weren't that many, or did it just not matter?
I never thought about that. Well, it's funny you should bring that up, because I remember my mom saying to me, "Oh, Gina, why couldn't you just be a singer?" Would have been a lot easier, right? She wouldn't have to be listening to some kid banging on drums day and night, right? Mark, I never thought about it because I was just so immersed in what I was doing. And it was all about taking in as much as I could. And I loved playing drums. It was so easy. I didn't have to think. My body would just move, do all the right moves to make it happen. Listening to a song, when somebody would bring something in, you'd work on a couple parts, come up with a great beat, boom, you're off to the races. And I never thought about being a girl and playing drums. It was the right fit. It was the instrument that I should have been playing. And it became very apparent when I picked up sticks the first time. I knew that that's what I would wind up playing. It wasn't just going to be something I do for a week. There was a connection right away that that I didn't feel when I picked up a guitar or a bass. So I knew that that's what I would wind up doing. And I never had taken drum lessons. So there you go.
Well, so much talk about, the Go-Go's, especially when there was the whole Rock Hall of Fame when you weren't in, and then finally, you were. I said to Kathy Valentine when I talked to her, I said, you did the impossible. You made me care about the Rock Hall of Fame, because part of me is just like a Hall of Fame is not a rock and roll kind of concept, but it also pissed me off that you guys weren't in it. So I was glad when you finally got in, but a lot of times it's sort of like, well, because it was the most successful all female rock band, but I didn't like those or love those songs because you were an all female rock band. I love those songs because they were great songs, well performed.
Close your eyes and listen. That's all I say. Close your eyes. It's about the music. And yeah, we're girls, but it's about hearing songs that move you, that speak to you, and really that's what it was about for our band. We were young, we were having a great time. And the songs that were coming out of this band talked about all that.
Right.
They were very timely and it all made sense, and it still does. It's like, even you listen to the stuff now and it still applies. It's crazy, but I feel like our stuff has stood the test of time.
Oh, it holds up really well. There's a lot of 80s stuff that has this kind of time capsule feeling with the performance and the production, especially, and the drum sound and everything. And I don't feel that way about those Go-Go's records.
No, it has a very, our records, I feel, Richard Goddard, first of all, is a great song man. And we were very lucky to have him on our first couple of records. The guy, Miles Copeland knew what he was doing when he set us up with Richard, who was also a lovely man. But, he pulled the songs apart, and made the necessary changes to make them into something that was going to appeal to the masses. And he certainly did, first thing he said is, Gina, you need to slow down. You're playing way too fast. I can't even hear what Belinda's singing. Well, when we slowed the songs down, that changed a lot, because the melodies had room to breathe, and, you could actually hear what Belinda was saying. And so that's when we went from being strictly a punk band into a sort of a pop punk rock band,
Right.
Which I guess is what I'd say we are, because all those elements apply to us when we perform live and even on record. There's all the bits of that are there.
Yeah, my sense is that the band, when you first heard the mix of it, you were all like, "What? This isn't a rough and tough band that we were." But then later, when it was a huge hit, you're like, "Well, I guess it's okay."
Exactly. Yeah, when we first heard it, we thought it was way too poppy. You know what I mean? Like, we were used to hearing 1, 2, 3, 4. We had been listening. We were thinking about the way that we played, how our audience reacted to that, and we thought, oh my God, they're not even going to know who we are, our audience. But it wasn't about our core audience. It was about taking the core audience and then expanding. Richard was looking at the big picture, and these were great songs, waiting to happen. And he arranged them in such a way that it appealed to the masses, which is what we wanted ultimately. And that is true. Yeah, we hated it when we first heard it and thought he had ruined our band. And then, of course, when it went platinum, we were like, he's brilliant. Yeah, God bless him. Boy, does he know what he's doing? Well, yeah, he does know what he's doing.
Do you remember, those songs being kind of presented to you and sort of the way the band would, like, how would the band work out, like, the arrangements? Did the songwriter sort of have a pretty good idea of what everything should sound like? Or were you pretty much coming up with your drum parts and it's shaping it as a band?
No, the Go-Go's were really about the 5 of us sitting in a room and coming up with those arrangements, coming up with each of our parts, and each of us helping we all helped each other come up with parts. If somebody was playing something on guitar, oh, I love that. That's kind of a hook. Incorporate that into the verse or into the chorus, whatever. So we listened to what each of us had to say about, incorporating whatever it is that we were coming up to into the song, and not making it a throwaway piece. That happened a lot. And that's why I love being in a band, because you learn from each other. it's not just you sitting in a room trying to figure it out whether or not you think if you like the part or you don't like it. When you have a sounding board, when you have other people in the room and we're all like-minded, you help each other figure these parts out. That's what makes you into the band that you become. That is what was so wonderful about the chemistry of the Go-Go's. Things would have never happened the way they did without the five of us sitting in a room and working on these things. Because there's very few people that can do it all, and certainly we weren't one of them. We were a real band, and we relied on each other, and we helped each other with our parts. If anybody was stuck, or like I said, picking out, somebody playing a bass line or guitar line and going, like I would go, oh my God, that's great. Let's, everybody did that with each other. And so that part of being in a band, it's what I love. You learn a lot.
Do you remember particular songs where, the five of you worked it out, and by the end of it, you were like, oh my God, this is great. This is like the best song ever.
Oh shit. Mark, that happened a lot. As far as I'm concerned, that happened with every song that we worked out, because every song to me was a masterpiece at that point in time. It was like we were young, we were learning, we were open. We weren't jaded at all. It was just a beautiful time. And I feel like we were all absorbing as much as we could. There weren't egos involved. There wasn't money involved. There was, it was the way it should be. Yeah. Before you develop issues within a band, which ultimately always happens.
When you guys finished Beauty and the Beat, did you think, okay, Our Lips Are Sealed, we got the beat, those are the two big hits?
Yeah, it was obvious. But there were so many more hits on that album. That album was full of hits.
Oh yeah, no, I know. That's why I was wondering, because you could have been like, oh no, I think this town is the hit, or how much more? How much more is the hit, or or whatever. There
could have been at least 4 singles off that album, and that was kind of a fucking stupid decision to jump right into the next record. Not a good decision. I don't know how this band ever made it. We made some dumb fucking moves, Daddy. Let me tell you. We made some dumb shit moves over the years. Despite our dumb moves, we've been able to keep our heads above water.
Yeah. Every band has its share of dumb moves, but it is hard to look back on them.
There were so many great songs on that record. And we were just kids putting it all together. But it was definitely a team effort that made the band into what it became. All of us were very, very important in that mix.
Kathy was the last one to join. So she was sort of the final missing piece. And again, I was talking about the two of you as a rhythm section. Is there a special relationship between the drummer and the bassist, as opposed to, how you work with the, guitarist, or, when someone does keyboard?
Absolutely. Kathy and I, when the band would rehearse, Kathy and I would go in a couple hours before the rest of the band would get there, and we would go over the set. We were always into nailing down our parts so that they were, we wanted the bass and the drums to sort of be intertwined in a way that was seamless. And that's what we spent hours on before the band would come in. We'd go over song over and over, make sure that she chose the right notes for whatever section it may be of the song, making sure that I had the right drum bits, and making sure that they locked in with each other and that it was seamless. That's what we spent our time doing. And we really talked about music a lot. The other girls weren't as into music as Kathy and I were. But like I said, we had years on them as far as being musicians. We had been playing many years before they started. So we would talk a lot about, the music that we loved and the bands that influenced us growing up. And so we were very, very much the same mind when it came to working together and picking out parts together. Team effort.
Was it really exciting when the stuff started actually clicking and hitting, and you were like, oh my God, these songs are huge?
Well, you can feel it when you've been working on something, spending the afternoon trying to figure out parts. And then when it finally hits, you're like, fuck yes, this is what it's supposed to be. It can't get much better than this. Then we're all laughing and screaming and, making jokes. And it's the serious mood goes right out the window because we found it. We figured it out. Yeah, there are those moments that happen on every song that you work on where you finally get to the point where this is the line you're going to play throughout the song, or this is the beat you're going to use. These are the fills you're going to have. These are the harmonies that are going to be in place when you record it or when you play live. It's sort of building on one thing after the next.
By the way, did Richard Gotterer come to you and say, I want you to play with a click track, or was that something you were going to do?
No, I was open for that because I knew my strong point was my timing. My strongest point is that I have really good timing. That's my gift. That's
but you didn't say to him, I don't need a click track. I am a click track.
No. But when I made the third record with Martin Russian, that was an issue because he had just synclaviers had just come out, and he had just bought a synclavier, which was crazy expensive, but he had done the Human League record Dare with the synclavier was a big part of it. And I really pushed to use Martin for our third album because I thought Dare was just a work of art. That record still, it's incredible. The sounds, the songs, they're timeless. And I wanted to work with Martin, and I got everybody on board. And so I decided to do the record with him. But then I knew it was going to come up about whether he was going to let me play drums. So I made a pact with him, and it was like, Martin, give me a shot at putting live drums down. If I can't cut it, then we'll use a synclavier. Fine, I'll do that. But give me a shot. And it worked out I benefited from that because I could play everything. There were some songs that we would use the synclavier and live drums with, combine the sounds that sound great. But once again, I would do whatever the song required. So if it was going to sound better to use a synclavier, I would. But I knew I could play every single track on that record.
Yeah, there's some great drum sounds on that record, like Turn to You. I mean, the drums really slam on that.
Yeah,
Head Over Heels, they sound really great. You got that break in there with you and Kathy. I mean, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it's just really straight playing and keeping it rocking, keeping it in time, and keeping the timing perfect so that anybody can jump in wherever they want. It's going to be on the mark. That album sounded more the way we wanted our record, our Go-Go's record, to sound. It was richer. I feel like Richard Gotterer was more of a song man, and the productions were sort of stuff that classic productions. What am I saying, really? But Martin had his own thing, and we fit into that beautifully at the time. And I love the way Talk Show sounds. It sounds different. Excuse me, than the first two records, but it's who we were and what we were doing, and I love it.
Still sounds like a Go-Go's record.
Yeah, I learned from Martin. I learned a lot. And what a lovely man he was. And it saddens me to say that he's, is gone, but he was a lovely guy. He was lovely. He would tell me stories about Mark Bolan because I loved T-Rex. Another band. I would play with T-Rex all the time, Mambo Sun and,
Oh, that's a great one.
Bang Gong. I mean, I was, he was telling me about working with him and how Mark came in and they would drink an entire case of champagne in the inn at night. And that's when they were recording. Wow. Some of the stories I've heard are so great, man. I've found out so much stuff, all the stuff I had hoped to know about people that I admired and,
Well, it seemed like going off to England to record that record would sound like it would be fun, but it doesn't sound like it was like the greatest experience for you all.
No, it was a bad time in the band's history because it was sort of the height of the drug intake. People were really out there. Several people in the band left in the middle of recording. We had to find out where the fuck they were. Show up for a photo shoot. One member doesn't show up. I mean, yeah, it was a mess. During that time, all I can say is I stayed in Streatley and worked on that record. That's what I can say. But it's what it is. It's a team effort in the end. And all five of us were needed to make that record. Right. What it became. Yeah, might have been difficult to get everybody in the same room at the same time, but
and you were all like staying in the same house too, right? I mean, like, wasn't that sort of?
We were staying at this hotel in Streatley, and it was like it was on the Thames, and so it was this idyllic setting. And in the midst of all that was a lot of crazy stuff going on. But it's like every band goes through it. You know, you're a hugely successful band. You got a lot of money, lots of drugs, lots of egos, lots of hanger-oners. And, you know, if you can get through it, that's the true test, you see.
Yeah, in Belinda's book, she wrote that when you guys are on tour, and I'm not sure, I don't remember what tour it was. So the Go-Go's were divided into two camps. There were the good girls, Jane, Kathy, and Gina, and then there were the bad girls, Charlotte and me. Drugs and sometimes people's egos were usually the issues that created such factions.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because Charlotte was doing some really bad drugs at the time, and Belinda was really out there. But, you know, yeah, I don't know what to say about that. I don't want to talk about it. Really, it's not my place. You'd have to ask different people in the band. I can say that I kept my shit together. That's all I can say about all that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that part of your history has been pretty well covered. So I'm like happy to hit more of the music, but I was the Belinda would actually write about the two camps. I thought was interesting, but
which is, you know, got to remember that everybody's memories of what was going on are different.
Right. And some of them might have been influenced by what was going on at the time too.
Including myself, you know?
I would imagine it would be frustrating for you as the person who was trying to impose the discipline and make sure everyone practiced to have to, you know, be sort of herding the cats.
I wanted everybody to get in the goddamn studio and work on their parts. You know? It was difficult. It was difficult because, you know, Martin would be sitting in the studio, he and I talking, where the hell is everybody? And it was tough, but, you know, everybody finally did come to their senses, came back, and we did a great record.
Do you think that the success of Beauty and the Beat made it harder for you guys to follow up the stuff and to sort of keep the sort of spirit you had because there's more pressure, more money issues, you know, more disparities of things?
Yeah, I mean, when we did Beauty and the Beat, we were just kids. I think we were just there to make a record. We were pure. We were clean. We came into it doing everything for the right reasons. Then a lot of money came into the picture and a lot of drugs, and it fucked everything up like it always does. But do you get through that? Do you make it through that? You know, that's the bottom line here. And we did. And, you know, I think that we got bad advice on that first record. And I think that has a lot to do with how the songwriting and all that was split. Because, yes, you know, Jane and Charlotte definitely brought in songs. There's no doubt. But I absolutely believe that without the five of us sitting there and working on those songs, they wouldn't have become what they've become. All I can use is We Got the Beat as the perfect example. I can't imagine We Got the Beat being this, you know, million selling single that it became without that drum beat. So there's something
which you came up with.
Yeah. I mean, and the bass line, boom, 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 boom. You know, there is something to be said for the input of every member of the band and how that contributes to making the song into a hit. Okay, that's the bottom line for me. And we are and were a band. It
seems like there's something sort of fundamentally screwed up about the way money, and it's different then than now, but it's screwed up in different ways in different eras. But the way money is sort of distributed on the publishing, songwriting, performance, sort of royalty things, like there are these sort of built-in disparities.
It depends on whether you're in a band or whether you're an artist, you know what I mean? And you're hiring people to come in and play. I just know that there are a lot of management out there now that won't even deal with a band unless they're splitting everything equally, because they know if they have any success, the band's going to break up because, you know, one person or two people are going to make a ton more money than the others, and it's going to cause a problem. It just is. I mean, we worked everything out over the years. It's all been worked out with us. And, you know, fortunately, we've all had our own solo stuff that we've done. I've made solo records. You know, I mean, Belinda's done quite well, but she's a singer and you would expect that. It's all worked out, I guess, the way it's supposed to. You can't just sit around and wait for things to fall in your lap. You got to go out there and get them. You got to go out there and make things happen, you know? And we did, as the five members of the Go-Go's, we worked hard to make the Go-Go's happen. And we all had input in various ways, even in the business aspect of it. You know, someone would be more drawn to dealing with that sort of bit the business aspect of being in the Go-Go's. Like, I fucking hate that. I don't like, Charlotte likes dealing with that better than I do, and Jane does. And yeah, whatever. That's all. Doesn't need to be talked about because it's boring, but it is true. You let people do what they're best at.
Yeah, it seems like a band like REM where they just split all the songwriting, and you don't really know, if Bill Berry brought in the beginning of that song or Peter Buck brought it in, and they just shared everything, and it just sort of took that off the table, and they lasted for a long time. And it seems like there are a lot of other bands where, I remember hearing these insane stories about like Talking Heads. Yeah, U2 does that. Whereas Talking Heads, like, there was this insane story about Brian Eno on Remain in Light wanting each person on each song to say what percentage of the song they thought they'd contributed. And it's like, that's just like a way to just like cause everyone to distrust everyone.
Well,
and cause tension.
I would say I'm, friends with Tina and Chris, and it was a fucking nightmare for them. So they put out the Tom Tom Club. All righty. They did all right.
Yeah.
And that's very typical in a band. That's nothing new, but it's fucked up. It's a shame that has to come into the picture when it doesn't need to, man. Just split it all equally. It's however many people. If you're in a band, you're in a band, or else be a solo artist. Do it on your own if you just want to keep your money. Right.
And you guys have come through a lot. You and Kathy have both at some point had to sue over stuff just to make sure you're getting what you wanted.
Whatever the agreements are, then stick to them. And if you don't, then there are repercussions.
So how's everyone now?
I think everything's fine for the moment right now. It's sort of, Belinda's doing stuff in England right now. I wish we were doing shows. I'm not going to lie. I love the band, and I wish we were out doing go-go stuff. And I've had some, health issues with my neck. I've had to have operated on my shoulder, then my hand, my thumb. But I've been playing. I'm back 100%. I just played at Outside Lands with the Lindas this past weekend, which was really a blast. Awesome. They do tonight. I came out and did tonight, a go-go song tonight with them. I had the best time and hung out with everybody and met a lot of people. It was lovely.
Well, you guys were supposed to tour with Billy Idol in like June, and then he bumped it to like October, and then you weren't on because
he got sick. Anymore. He got really, really sick, and then Belinda had stuff already booked in England, and during that period of time, so we had to just sort of walk away from that. I'm not happy about it, but it's what it is.
So was it just a timing thing where when he rescheduled it, you couldn't?
It actually was a dates? Thing. It actually was. He was sick. I don't think that they talked about it much, but I think he got.
Like MRSA or something like that. I saw something about it. Yeah.
Something not good. They kept him sick for quite a while. So that sort of got postponed. Then it screwed up scheduling. Oh man, COVID fucked everything up for everybody the last couple of years. Let's be honest. So anyway, I hope that we do go out on tour. I don't know when, but it would be nice. I'd like it. I love playing. What
was a bigger thrill for you, the Rock Hall or getting your star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame?
Oh, Rock Hall. Yeah. They were both pretty cool, let's be honest. But I think the Rock Hall, because you're voted in by your peers, all sitting in front of you, you're playing, you're meeting everyone. I mean, what a thrill, hanging out with Paul McCartney. What a thrill.
Yeah.
Hanging out with Amir, Questlove. Hey, it was all fabulous. Hanging out with the Foo Fighters, spending some time with Taylor. It was lovely. It was a lovely time. Meeting Brandy Carlisle. She was fucking awesome. I love that girl. I'm so happy for her. And she's really doing well. I love it. What a talent.
Now, have you been writing more songs on your own? I know that you wrote like the title track of, or co-wrote the title track of Miley Cyrus's album.
Yeah, I'm always co-writing. I don't do anything on my own. I don't like doing anything on my own. I like to be part of a team. That's why I like being in a band. I'm actually getting into it. I've spent the last 7 years of my life taking care of my mom and dad, who were, at the end of their lives. And I brought them to San Francisco to take care of them. And dad just passed away it's been 1 year. So now I'm sort of getting back into doing what I do. And, but my time has been spent with them, and rightfully so. And I'm really glad that the Go-Go's have been able to afford me that kind of time. You know what I mean? Where I could spend with mom and dad, just them. They gave me so much. And so I wanted to give it back. And I feel real good about about that. Really good.
And then obviously you did your book, Made in Hollywood, which is a really fun book. It's a great one to just sort of leave out, because if anyone comes over, if you actually
it's
socialize
the
with
perfect
anyone,
coffee table book,
it is.
Right? That's what I wanted. I originally started out just wanting to do a photo book, but it evolved into, writing a bunch of stories about those photos. Because like just looking at the photos, the fellow that helped me work on it, a guy named Steve Preget, he was like, Gina, come on, why don't you just try writing some stuff? And it just sort of, it poured out of me. You know how it is. You look at a photo and you remember everything.
Absolutely.
Same thing. You hear a song, you remember what was going on at that time,
Well, and the photos also look like they were taken by someone who everyone trusts, because they are not like these posed shots. Like, they're very well composed, but they're not like everyone like at their best all the time. It feels like you're in the room with them.
It was about me just catching a moment in time that nobody else could, because I'm in the band.
And everyone in the band trusts you enough to like sign off on it and be part of it, and look at you and everything else. I love the quote from Jodie Foster in there, where I guess she and Rob Lowe end up like hanging out with you guys, and she says they were up for edgy mischief but still loved their parents. I thought that was a great line. Edgy mischief, but they love their parents, and that's like, that sort of perfectly captures a type of person who you want to hang out with, frankly.
Yeah, sort of that, because it was innocent. It was innocent. And Jodie's still a good friend to this day. And it's great because like she had never been around a rock band, and we were wild compared to her going to Yale and like really being a very studious student. She was, all about, getting a better education. And we were all about, we'll show you we're going to educate you. And she loved it. Like dragging her from club to club in New York City and having these wild dinners at Mr. Chow's and spending loads of money, just having the time of our lives. And I know she appreciated it because she had never been exposed to that.
What was sort of your biggest kind of pinch me moment when you met someone and you thought, oh my God, I can't believe I'm meeting this person?
David Bowie.
Right. Because he was from another planet. And then he was like, you're meeting him.
Yeah. This guy, but that's happened so many times in my life. I really need to meet Ringo Starr, though. I really need to meet Ringo. God damn it.
You're drummers. Come on.
I know. That's what I said.
Aren't you in a club?
I gotta meet Ringo. He lives in LA. Okay, I got to figure this out.
I'll come along. I'll talk to you together. We'll do another episode.
Meeting Bowie, and then, of course, meeting the Stones. And that's pretty big in my book. I idolized them growing up, and I got to hang out with them. And they were exactly as you figured they would be. Lovely people. All really just great.
Did you talk drums with Charlie Watts?
Just for a minute, because we were back. It was before they did their show. It was cool because they were playing only a 10,000 seater, which was small for that tour. And, we postponed a couple of shows to go and do that show with them in Rockford, Illinois. So we were thrilled and hung out with them before the show. It was neat. And then in New York, I hung out with Ronnie Wood and his wife at the time, Joe. Spent some time hanging out with them in New York City afterwards. That's all awesome. How much do you play drums still? Like, do you sort of practice at home a lot? Like, how do you keep yourself in playing shape? I haven't done a goddamn thing, Mark, but I just started again. And I'm really having some fun playing. DW just made me another kit, and I'm really having fun playing in a way that I haven't felt for a long time. I'm getting excited, actually get excited about going to play. Just, me, myself, and I. That's it. In a room, doing some stuff, play a little bit, then put on a couple songs, play with them. It's really been fun getting back in the saddle, When the Go-Go's speaking of back in the saddle, you just remind me of the Aerosmith song. Oh my God, I was so into Aerosmith. Oh my God, I love them. I used to play along with what's his name, Kramer, their drummer, to a lot of Aerosmith stuff, a lot of Aerosmith songs. I loved them. Joey Kramer, there's another underrated drummer. Joey Kramer's he's a good drummer. Really good. When the Go-Go's play shows, how does that happen? Is it just who calls who and says, all right, we're on, or is it more organic? Like you guys will talk among each other and say, hey, it's time to do it. Or if it's like a management. you have management, and then you have your booking agency, and the booking agency talks to the manager, and the manager says, "Oh, this is what times are available," and then then we get sent a list of dates that we may or may not do. It's just yeah.
But you all have to sort of agree ahead of time. Okay, we all want to do it right now, or
yeah,
just,
of course we do. Everybody's got separate lives now. Everybody does what they do, and rightfully so. We're grown up now, kind of.
I mean, do you think everyone wants to do it, or is there anyone who's like harder to convince to do it?
I don't know. You'd have to ask everybody in the band. I can't speak for anyone. I can speak for myself and tell you.
You're ready for it. You're ready to go.
I love to play. I always want to play. And it's what I do.
And when you play concerts, who comes up with the set list?
Oh, at rehearsal, we sit down, we go, everybody will pitch in what they would like to play and do a couple covers for encores usually. And we go over them and see which one works best. And then we do that when we play live, whichever one sounds best.
Are there songs that you argue for that you don't get in the set, or other songs that you argue against that do?
Of course. Like there's a song "Fun with Ropes" that I would love to play every single time we play, and it was never recorded, but it should be. We all want to record that song. It is so much fun. I love that song, "Fun with Ropes."
When is that from?
The 70s.
So it's an old original.
Oh, you bet.
You guys just never recorded.
It's all the best stuff.
What is the one song in the set where you're like, oh, I just don't want to have to play this one anymore?
We got the beat.
It's your showcase, though. It's you.
I know.
You're the one with me. I got the beat.
Yeah, I know.
You've played it. You've played it at probably every single show.
That's the song that I think we played more than any other. So it's like, oh my God, again. Yeah. But you know what? That being said, how fucking grateful am I that I get to play that song?
Sure.
That I came up with those parts.
Both of those things can be true. You can be really sick of playing it, but grateful that you get to play it.
That's part of being human,
What'd you think of the Fun Boy 3 version of Our Lips Are Sealed?
I loved it. I thought it was great.
Well, I hope I get to hear you playing drums again soon, live on record, all of those things. But yeah, come play in Chicago with the Go-Go's or with any of your, other musicians you like. So,
Mark, I hope that does happen sooner than later, but I got a feeling it's going to be a little while.
Well, why do you think it's going to be a while?
Because everybody's busy doing different things, including myself. But, we always come back together. It's sort of like everybody gets busy doing stuff. And then we'll get a call from management saying, hey, such and such wants you to play. Is everybody available? And we always seem to find time to do that.
And you recorded a single, relatively recently. So, maybe you'll record again at some point.
That I don't know about. That seems least likely. But you never know, because I don't know how many times everybody in this band has said, no, we're not doing that. Or no, I quit. Or no, and it never really happens. We just can't get away from each other.
That's why you keep saying it's family. So there you go.
It's family. And the sort of stuff that the emotions that you have with family are so fucking deep and raw, and nobody can upset you. Nobody can bring you so much love and joy. It's it's exactly how we are.
Well, that's great. Well, I hope your dysfunctional family is able to hit the road again.
It's always dysfunctional, but isn't everyone? So
I was going to say it's kind of redundant even to say that just family. So
pleasure.
That's all for episode 46 of Caropop. Thanks so much to Gina Schock for such a lively, fun conversation. She talks with as much enthusiasm and passion as she plays. Be sure to pick up her book, Made in Hollywood, All Access with the Go-Go's, and buy some extras for family and friends. It's also always a good time to dive back into those Go-Go's records, as well as the self-titled House of Shock album. Caropop is produced by Chris Swake, who's also got the beat. I'm Mark Caro. Please follow me on Twitter, @MarkCaro, @MarkCaro, and visit the Caropop website, caropop.com, for posts about music, movies, and food, and also this Caropop podcast. Please share, subscribe, and tune in again next week for another Caropop conversation. Thanks.